is Manuel from Kata Studios. Today we'll be doing a proper review for this awesome website made by Fevzi Designs. Okay, so we'll be hitting these from the header down to the footer. Okay, very importantly to note, the idea for this, we are going to be focusing on typography, focusing on the content being on brand, focusing on color, and also focusing on the layouts and breakpoint sizes. So without wasting much time, we're going to start off with the header. Okay, so one thing I discovered I think I like about is the logo concept, how centered it is with the header area. I love this so much. You did a very wonderful work. And for the fact this should be, the icon here should be a link to the home page. It is not a link right now because when we click on this, it doesn't work. This doesn't show up to be a link at all. So this actually should be a link, a clickable link, where people can click and it will revert or redirect them back to the home page. Now going to the right section, I love the effect here, hover and scale up. But the points, the space between here is too much. I think you should have to collide that a little more, bring them closely to each other. Each word should be a little more closer to each other, then they can be far from this particular element. But I think the space here, the padding here is still too far. So the same padding you're going to give to the spaces you're going to give to this part are still the same padding you're going to include for this particular cat icon. The cat icon, you should increase the size just a little more, okay, so it can be clickable. You need to make it in a way people can hover over it easily and click without trying to struggle and trace which icon to actually click on. So now we get to the hero section. I like the slides you use here. That's amazing. I love the concept. The sliding and zoom out effect makes a lot of sense. So, but I would suggest we go with a fade out and zoom out. Okay, instead of sliding and zoom out, we go with a fade out and zoom out. That will be more subtle to the eyes and not too busy for viewers. I'm going to show you an example of that. I think we have something like that from here. Okay, this actually, okay, very good. You see how it's zooming in and is fading out. Just watch closely, very fine. So that's the actual concept I would like us to work with. Now, talking about the typography which we use for the hero section, I like the fact you use a very bold text here, and typography have been affected by the amount of letters in it. If I had lesser amount of letters here than you have here, I would have made mine also bolder. So don't mind the fact that this is smaller. You can also make yours smaller if you want to, but I think it's okay like that. Now the body text here, as we have the subtext as we have from here, I don't like the size of what you have, and I don't like the fact that you have too much of information here. So 2 line will be okay. You have to minify your content and make sure it is just 2 line of this particular section. As you can see from here, we have just a very few contents from here, and it makes the hero section more simpler and seamless. Now the next is the button you used here. I like the fact it's an effect on hover, but the problem I'm having with your button is it is on a secondary format, whereas the button is a primary button. What I mean by that is a primary button is supposed to be the bold filled color. It's not supposed to be the stroke version, as you can see from the concept or from the ideas we have all from here. I think we have something like that from there. So you see primary colors are usually the main buttons, so they are supposed to be filled. Secondary colors are the ones that are supposed to be filled only on hover, but outside hover it can be a stroke. That is how you detect secondary colors. Secondary colors are colors that might be leading you to about us page or category page or something like that. But you want to lead people to the shop, which is the main intention for the creation of this website. It should be a primary color, and the button should be filled. So you fill this button. I think it's possible if you have a category section, you add a category button over here. It would be nice to lead people to the category section from the header, so they can actually sort for a particular category. And anyway, that is based off on the amount of product that is in the store. If you have too many products in the store, you can add a category section from there. So we are done with the hero section, and I like the fact that this is full width, 100% VH. So with scrolling down the product category section, it is too wide, okay? I wouldn't like that situation, and I love the fact that your header is having the highest width in your website. Your header and footer should have the width, the widest width in your website. So this width practically is 95% if I'm not mistaken. This is 95% width, and giving 95% width to another content inside of your website for the web view or the desktop view wouldn't make much sense. So this can work well for the laptop view. 90% is okay for laptop view, but desktop view should take about 85%. 90% also could also be okay for desktop view, but that applies to content outside the header and the hero section. So every other content coming after the hero section and header should be within 90 or 80%. Bear that in mind. 90 or 80%. If it gets too wider, it becomes too become too simple and too empty. There will be too much empty space all around that content for that particular section, as you can see from there. Now we have another example of the category section we made from here. As you see, we used 80% width. 80% width from here. You see how composed our content feels like. Another thing I want to point out is you don't make category list with just a text. That doesn't make sense. This is not a button. If you want to make it a button, it still doesn't make sense. There should be a visual representation of what you are trying to portray to people. This is a unisex. You have an image that represents that. This is for male, this is for female, this is for essence, and so on and so forth. Whatever it is, for as long as it's a category, make sure there is an image representing what that is. And the same thing we have from the category section in ShopStation websites. So you should do that, but this should maintain 80%, okay? 80% width. And this is taking 70% width if I'm not mistaken, and I love the fact this is taking 70% width. One thing I would like you to do is I would like this particular content to be 4, it's okay 4 per row, okay, 4 per column, and 2 per row, which means we should have 8 content in this particular section. 4 elements per row and 2 lines per column. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that's how you're going to do it, so people can see more content to fill after leaving the next section of the category list. So that's what we're going to do there. Every other thing here is okay, except for the fact that the shop here, I don't like the fact it is small letter. I can make this capital letter, and that would be nice. Now next, I like the color styling of your buttons. It's nice, but what we are going to do in the buttons is that all buttons here are going to be black at first. Only on hover will it convert to red. Red is not a nice symbol for add to cart. You don't use red, you only use green or black or blue, but don't use red. Red wouldn't make much sense. Red is a kind of abstract color for situations like this. It shouldn't be used for add to cart. Never use a red color for or ox blood color for your add to cart. Also, the color you use here should also be converted to black. Only on hover can it convert to the brand color. Okay, so any other place you made that mistake, you have to make that correction. Now next to this part, I don't like the fact this is red. We are going to pull this off, and you're going to change the font we used here. I don't like the font you use here. I love this font so much, and I think you can incorporate this font too. Let's check out this font name. Can incorporate it there. It works well for every other element outside the header and the footer. Okay, we can't pick this font name now, but I'm going to make the font name available in the comment section, in the description of this video below. Okay, so the font you are going to use here, simpler font. Okay, I love the fact this is simple at the edge here. Then the size here should be reduced a little more. It's too bogus. Okay, and also very importantly, do not make your body text content longer than the heading text of that particular section. Never do that in your project anymore. Don't do that. Okay, now coming down to the button here, this is a secondary button, and this is the primary button. Primary buttons come before secondary button. Don't make that blunder again in your design. As you can see here, primary button comes before secondary buttons. As you can see in this one, primary button comes before secondary button. Primary button usually come before secondary button. Why? Because primary button is what you want people to actually click on. That's the main important thing. Buy now, add to cart. Buy now is actually a primary button because you want people to just get to the checkout page immediately by clicking on this button. But add to cart will actually make them add this product to the cart button over here, and I think this will be moved over to this part and this one moved over to this part. One other thing I noticed that is not on brand here is that the stroke is 2 pixels. The stroke here should be 1 pixel, number one. Number two is that the color of this particular button should be this, not this. Okay, it shouldn't be white. This particular button should reflect the color, showing that it have a kind of transparency between it. It's only when you hover it, it can be white or whatever color you want. But I will also prefer when you hover this, it is black. So we have black here. When you hover the next one, it still turns black, but it will be transparent with a stroke of 1 pixel. Okay. Now I talked about increasing the font size of the content you have over here. Increase the font size a little, as you can see what we have from here. The font size here. Increase it a little, like 18% will make more sense. Okay, 18 pixels, 19 pixels will make more sense here. Then reduce the content a little. So down. I love the fact, I love the effect we have from here. This sticky effect that makes this particular element stick while the image scroll above. But the image is taking too much of space here, and every content should show on 100% VH. What I mean by that is that this content, I should be able to see the full content of this image on this particular section. If it is beyond that, it is not nice, not a nice user experience. Even though you want to achieve the effect of making this sticky, the sticky shouldn't stay there too long. People mustn't notice every effect. Every effect mustn't be too noticed for it to be significant. Okay, so reduce the size of this image so that I can be able to view this image on this VH, 100% VH. I should be able to see the full image. Not on 100% VH, some part of the image are missing. So make that correction also. I love the padding you use for all your sections. I think this is around 150 pixels up and down. Padding for the sections. Now this one, again, I love this particular part. Also taking the same size of the rest of the content. 80% width will be nice for this particular part. Scrolling down here, I love what you did here. This is 70% width. And I love 70 or 60% width, if I'm not mistaken. I love the how condensed this. I love the space here. I love the space here. If this could take 70% width, it will make more sense. And you still apply it to the rest of them. This also can take 70% or 80% width. Then you have to reduce the text. Because the more you collapse a width of a content, you will need to reduce the text size of the heading text of that particular section. What I mean by that, as you can see from here, let's scroll down so you can see some other examples. This is full width. Let's see if we can find another example from this particular website. So as you can see, okay, we don't have this, that particular part is too large. We still don't have an example from here, but at least you understand what I'm trying to portray there. Let's see from perfect forms. Okay, fine. You see perfect forms, we see reduce the text size of this particular element because it is taking about 80% width now. Let's still scroll down. The size of this one. Now see another category listing I have here. See how beautiful it is. Put the category, browse category at top, then put a little briefing. Category with the count of each category. This can be achieved by dynamic field. You can use the dynamic field to pull in the data of a particular category to show the count of that particular category. Or you can use some widget in Elementor to do this category widget to style this enough. I think that should be the I think it's a shop engine, or the shop engine elements have this particular category type, and also the other element kits category list. I think this is element kit category list I used here. So scrolling down, you see as we are reducing the size, the text are going to be reducing to match the sizes. If you increase it, the text are also going to increase. So see how subtle and neat these particular sections are feeling, and everything stands on brand. So that's what I want you to do here. And you mustn't use the font you use for the hero section for all sections of your website. As you see example from here, it's not the same font we are using in the hero section. Okay, just try to mix and match things, use things according to how it works, not following rules. So we are going with 70% like we said from here, and this is okay from here. Now the testimonial section, I would like the space here is too much. Okay, bring this a little bit closer to this particular element, and if you can make this to fade away, it will be nice. Look at what happens whenever it slides. Okay, I don't like that effect whenever it slides. This part is cut out and this part is cut out. And also expand this particular element to start from 70% width. 70% width will be nice. I think this is okay as it is, but make it 70% width, this particular content, 70% width, and this particular content shouldn't be too wide like this. It's too wide. Just make it stop from there. Testimonial can be a little more bolder, Then this shouldn't be this is too wide, okay? This is too wide, bro. This is too wide. Just reduce it a little from here. Just cut them from here. Then we get into this fact section. This fact section, I would like you to inherit fact section from Azimat. See, add more fact section to your content. Make them 6 and put the fact at the top. It can give a little bit of briefing. And I think the fact section we use in ShopStation also make a little more sense to me. I see it. We have fact section at the top. Then we have a little bit of briefing below. Then we have the fact flowing after that. So fact section, you can still use your style, but put the fact section at the top. Put some description below it and make the fact at least 6 questions are enough for a fact section. Making it just, and the color you use here in the background, I don't like it. The color here in the background here is too, the contrast is not nice with the pink. Gray is not a friendly color with pink. So you can either use white there or use another color. And make sure it starts from the edge of this particular part to the edge of this particular part. As you can see from here, let me zoom closely. It's not collapsing from this particular angle. Let me see if this is actually recording. Okay, so it's not collapsing from this angle. I want this to actually collapse from this edge to this particular edge. So we come to the footer, and this is the final version. In the footer, I want you to do something to the buttons. Now look at what I did to Azimat buttons. If we had a button from there, as you see, when we hover, the brand color we now change its format, like a kind of giving it opposite color. Like previously, on the primary color of the background, we have the lighter green, and the icon, which is the secondary color, is the dark green. When we remove this, the content styling reverts. Okay, so this is a kind of negative interference between content based off on hover. So when you hover, it should be able to convert to the negative color of that particular brand, just like you do with buttons. Let's see another example of that. As you can see from here, it's on brand. What color we have from there? Let's still see from Perfect Forms if we did something like that. As you can see, you see everything is on brand. Okay, so fine. That is what I actually want you to do. So that is, and another thing I want to point out here is the footer can also have a kind of text from here and have an imagery from this other end. Since the footer is that slicky, your footer is short, you can add that content from here to make it look more nice. So I think that's the end of the review for today for Febzy Design website, and I so much love the concept here, and I can't wait to see what effect it's gonna come up with at the end of the application of this review. When you hover on this red, I don't like the color red. I think you have to convert that to at least pink or something closer to that, something light like white. Pink, red is too harsh, as you can see what it's doing to the black background. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. If you want your website to be reviewed, drop me a link to your website. If I check it out, it's something that we need to work on, I will give you a proper review. Do have a wonderful day. Once again, my name is Manuel from Cater Studios.